Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit or Zappy here, back again with Attack on Titan. It is finally upon us again. Season 4, the final season, so they say, which means that it's a very bittersweet time. Because I think in the hearts of many, this show will go down as their favourite show of all time. It's that good. A substantial amount of people would say that, I would believe. So, yeah, with the heartbreak in mind, it's tough to go into this season. But the sweetness is also there, because I'm so excited just to see how this season, in particular of the previous seasons, is really going to go. Because for the first 3 seasons, it was very like mystery heavy. It was like mystery based around all of these questions that we had around what was outside the walls. Why is this Titan crisis upon us, and all of that, and what was in the basement, and getting to that, finally getting to the basement and getting all of this information, the massive info dump at the end of last season. It was just, it was huge, and really exciting. But the thing is, with this season in particular, it just seems like it's primed for like just all out war, essentially. Like it feels like we may not have a lot of downtime to like catch our breath, and it feels that way inclined. So it feels like much more sort of like an epic scale war is about to take place. So I can't wait to see how they wrap this up. If it's going to be like an open-ended ending, or if it's going to be a closed book. Because I mean, realistically, it's probably going to be a closed book in terms of the characters, right? Because the holders themselves only have a certain amount of time to do their thing. And I think when we left off in season 3, Eren had about, I can't even remember. I think they only have like 13 years once they get the power, right? And I think we've already gone through 5 years, I think, with Eren. Up until the point of the end of season 3. You'll have to, correct me if I'm wrong on that. But yeah. So, yeah, big things going to come, and I can't wait to get into it. I don't know if there's anything else I really want to just, sort of talk about. I mean, I did write down things that I may have thought about after season 3. You know what I mean? That I wanted to actually talk about. But in some regards, it's like I might just leave that to the post discussion and just get into the episode, and then just see what information we have afterwards, and then I can just include it, which I think is what we'll do. But yeah, I mean, the last thing I'll talk about was obviously, coming into this season, the last scene in season 3. I mean, the episode as a whole was a very, it ended up very wholesome, I think, seeing the ocean for the first time, them splashing around in it. But it quickly turned ominous, because obviously it went over to Eren, and all he's thinking about is we haven't even got freedom yet. We spent all this time trying to get beyond the wall and thought of that as our freedom, but now it's like they've come up against another wall in the ocean, because obviously they're on an island, and it's like he knows where their enemies are. It's across the ocean, and it's like, shit, they have to do all of this again, but it's going to be like harder now, because the idea of going up onto their doorstep as opposed to them coming to you feels crazy. Like I would have never thought we would have got to this point with Attack on Titan, man. But yeah, I think that's it for the pre-discussion. I think we're just going to get into this episode and see what we get. So yeah, the reaction will be on YouTube. At least I'll try to get it on here. I might try a few different times if it keeps getting taken down, and I'll try and cut together a more manageable version for YouTube if I can. But if it keeps just getting taken down, then the reaction link will be in the description below, and it'll be on my website. Okay, so the links will be down there. There'll also be a link to the full length. If you do want to watch my reaction to this episode in full and not just the cut 10-minute version, then the offer is there for you. But yeah, so hopefully the reaction is on YouTube. If it's not, then check the description. But that is all I've got for the pre-discussion. So yeah, we're going to get in episode 1 of season 4 and see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Oh shit. Fucking hell, we're in a war zone. Fucking Jesus Christ. What the fuck, dude? Where are we at here? Like, what is this? It's like World War I or II.
榴弾の直撃で
頭を強く打ったんだね。
俺たちが4年も戦争してるってこと覚えてるか？さっきまで剣持って飛び回ってなかったか。
He's talking about maneuver gear.
そりゃ一から作戦を説明し直さなきゃだね。
What on
4年も
earth?
続いた戦争も今ようやく大詰めなんだ。あのスラバ要塞さえ落とせば。
What the fuck?
すぐ下にある軍港の中東連合艦隊を
The Mid-East Allied Forces.
それで俺たち戦士候補生がなんでこんな前線に駆り出されてるんだ。
Warrior candidates?
次の戦士よ。パラディ島制圧作戦の主力となる鎧の巨人の継承者をね。
Fuck! Right now, dude! It's such a different, like, tone and style. The other side of the sea.
まあ、私たちとガビじゃね。
今のところの成績じゃない。
私があんたたちと違うのは覚悟だよ。エルディア人の運命を背負い、私たちを苦しめるあの島の悪魔どもを皆殺しにする覚悟だ。私は負けない。私が収容区からみんなを解放する。
This is showing how the Eldians are like under the Malians' boots, you know? Like they're just being used by propaganda for this shit.
ここでアギトと車力を放ちましょう。
Oh
ガリアーと
fuck.
ピークの2人ならやってくれます。
ダメだ。装甲列車。
That's practically the
その戦闘と
confirmation.
最後尾に計4門乗っかってる。対巨人砲だ。9つの巨人といえどな。9年前から始まった始祖奪還計画が返り討ちに終わり、超大型と目型を失ったようにな。エルディア人部隊、突撃準備を急げ。
Started roughly at the end of season 3 then. They're sending them to their deaths. They're just using Eldians for it.
突撃準備だ。
Oh, that's so
これより
fucked.
決死隊においては敵遠征号に飛び込み、機関銃を無力化せよ。いいか。
They've got suicide bombers.
我が祖国マーレから栄誉を受ける絶好の機会である。
Malians are fucked, man.
心して臨め。コルト、お前も獣を受け継ぐ身なら、いい加減に上に立つ者としての覚悟を持て。
He's succeeding Zeke.
私なら一人で装甲列車を無力化できます。
How is she gonna pull this off?
ガビ、
私が成功すれば800人のエルディア兵を失わずに済みます。
行け。
ダメだ。ガビ。
必ずや私が鎧を継ぐに値する戦士であることを証明してまいります。
Is she trying to infiltrate?
おい、誰か来る。
Yeah.
それも子供。投稿しに来るようだ。
Fuck.
待て。
Oh god.
知らんだろ。
They just aren't gonna shoot her. But wait, how is she gonna get back though? As soon as she throws that, she's gonna get lit up, isn't she? Oh, oh my god. It took out the bunker as well. Okay then.
ガリアド、急げ。
Oh fuck. Oh. How is he dodging all of that shit? Fucking hell! Whoa! Oh fuck! Look at that! Jesus! Fuck, that was a Mia's Titan.
これより降下作戦を開始する。ジークが矛となり、ライナーが盾となるのだ。
Oh shit! Right, that looks badass, dude! Oh, it's being gunned down, man, like it's D-Day. God. It's crazy how this one looks. Oh, fuck! The Cart Titan, dude. It has a fucking... he has a bunker on his back.
彼はもう戦闘能力のない捕虜だ。
He brought him into the trench.
国際法を遵守して私に覆いかぶされば 鎧を継承できると思った。
The good kid.
知るかよ。
Oh shit. Fuck. What on earth? Oh no! Shit! It's gonna be the fucking... It's gonna be the Zeke thing, isn't it? The, he's gonna make them into Titans. Fuck! Holy fuck, dude! Jesus, dude! I just got like a chill. Oh, that is so scary, dude! It's like a bomb drop! That is horrifying. This is so scary, dude. This one lost teeth on the way down. Ugh. I hate these Malians, man. Fuck. The tech. Oh fuck, Rhino's coming in, dude. It just goes to show, like, the tech is so much better over here than it was in Paradise. Oh god, Rhino, dude. There he is. God. Oh wow. Right around the circumference. He can be penetrated by that! His fucking arm came off! They've got one on the inside as well? Shit in hell, Reiner! Fuck. It's crazy seeing these Titans like in a Warzone type situation. Oh my god, Reiner! Dude, Reiner with a beard is mad. He looks so badass. So this war started because they failed in Paradise then? Oh, the armaments. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Whoa, Reiner, dude. Fuck, he took that full force. What about the town down there? Fuck, that's a hell of an image. Whoa, dude.
連合艦隊の壊滅を受け、中東連合はマーレとの講和条約を締結。だが世界には巨人の力が全てを支配する。
Reiner, dude!
終わりつつあることを知られ。
Is he okay?
そんな。
There is no way that... Who's that? It's gotta be somebody we know, right? That was sick, by the way. The effect, like sprouting like a tree. I have a theory about that. Like, thinking Titans is like, think about them as like plants almost. That was insane, man. That was insane. Okay, episode 1 for season 4. The Other Side of the Sea. Very, very interesting start of the season. A very different tone as well, I think, to any other real episode that we've had. Just because it felt so like World War like 1 and World War 2-ish. And it's like, you know, like the set design for it, you know, like having the trenches, of course, plays a big part, bunkers, and what they refer to as Fort Slava. So it just felt like an entirely different show. Specifically, the before the Titans were actually involved in the battle. So I think it was when the new Jaw Titan Galliard, I believe his name is. Before he showed up, it felt like a different show. You know, the one thing that obviously you take away from it, knowing that obviously it's Attack on Titan, is obviously they're talking about the Eldians and the Malians, and you know, and they're talking about successors for the current Titan holders, which, you know, Reiner being one of them. It's crazy to even think about this now, because we've been with them for so long that it just feels like it's coming up to like an end of an era kind of thing, you know, and it's crazy. But yeah, I love the fact that, like, I mean, the title of the episode is The Other Side of the Sea. I don't even think it's just that, like, in plain view, but it's also like the other side that we're looking at. You know, we're looking at it from the Malians' point of view. Of course, like, these Malians are just despicable people, man. They really are. Like, everything throughout the episode, I just felt, specifically the commander, what Magarth or whatever his name was, like, every chance he got was always to just keep pushing the Eldians down. Like, they were like, you know, like, oh, this is the despicable act. Like, look at these horrific monsters. Like, you know, these Eldians are horrible creatures. But they obviously, they've indoctrinated these Eldians to basically fight their wars for them, is essentially what it comes down to, you know. And that whole thing of, like, sending all of the Eldians to fight, like, you know, I doubt there was even one fucking Malian involved in that battle. It's just crazy. I mean, they had suicide bombers, for Christ's sake. Like, it's nuts. So who are the real monsters? Tell me that. But yeah, I think having the perspective of this side, and not against the Paradise lot either. For a moment, at, like, sort of like the beginning, I was wondering if this was like a flashback or what. And then, you know, they were basically talking about in the middle of a war. I think early on it was said that you know, like, they were talking about, I think it might have been that Commander Margarth dude. I don't even know if I'm getting his name right. He was talking about the fact that the Paradise operation didn't go to plan, and we had to put it on hold, right? And I was like, so before that statement, I was wondering if it was a flashback, and then I was like, no, maybe it mustn't be. And then I'm wondering if we've actually, like, flashed forward, like, if we've done a time jump to where the Paradise lot are actually already over there and, like, have established themselves. But then it became apparent. They talked about they referred to them as the Mid-East Allies, which is interesting because that's a new group of people. Beforehand, it's only been the Paradise lot and the Malians. You know, so it's like the world goes on further. And it's interesting to sort of have that knowledge, because we kind of know at this point that the world map for this is essentially our world. I mean, the map that we did see was essentially Africa, and it's upside down, right? And Paradise Island is essentially like Madagascar. You know, so obviously there's a hell of a lot more world that we just don't know about who inhabits it and anything. But, like, when you're talking about, like, the Mid-East Allies, the way that they dress, it is very Middle Eastern. You know, so like the way, like, their clothes and everything like that. So it can't be too different from our world. You know, I mean, I remember episode 1 of this show, season 1. So, you know, the title's like 2,000 years to you and your future or something like that, right? And it's kind of, it's weird, like, seeing the technology not be as advanced as it would be to us talking about 2,000 years in your future. But the thing is about the show is that there's so many, you can think about it in so many ways, like, about how, like, why is this happening, and everything like that. Like, how is it that these Titan holders have memories of previous holders, and also how is it that, like, Kruger, for example, is able to transcend time and space? Well, he doesn't literally, but he knows about he knows about people that haven't even been born yet, because he was talking about Armin and Mikasa, right? Last season, when he was talking to Grisha about it, and he was like, who's Armin and Mikasa? And Kruger's like, I don't know. So theory crafting of like 2,000 years to you and your future, right? If that is specifically a... Because it could be a message to both. Like, it could be a message to the viewer, and it could be a message to the characters as well. So, but there's this theory in the real world. Sorry about my constant cough. I think I'm coming down with something. But, yeah, so in our world, there is this theory that, like, we kind of continuously, like, sort of reset as humanity. Like, we get to the point where we sort of... you know, we become technologically advanced, and then it becomes too much out of our control, and then it's like we get sent back to the fucking dark ages, and we start again, and the cycle repeats. You know, there's that whole thing about I can't remember the fucking civilization, what it's called, but there's this idea that is it some... No, it's not fucking... Of course it's not bloody Somalia. What am I... There's something... There's a civilization... I can't for the life of me remember now. But there's this civilization that was so long ago, but they knew about things that realistically that long ago they shouldn't have. And it's almost like this theory that possibly they were a civilization that were as advanced, like as advanced as us now with our technology, maybe even more so. And either they... left the planet, or they kind of died out and got sent back to the fucking Dark Ages to start again, and we are just, you know, getting all of the, like, you know, by ruins or anything that's left around, you know. So that theory exists in the real world, and I wonder if in some way, I wonder if the Attack on Titan universe, because Kruger's able to know about certain things coming up in the future, if it's just a case of like it's reset itself. But it might not be just a case of it's reset itself, or there's new people and everything like that. But everything's just a cycle that resets, and it kind of plays over again and again and again. I don't know how true that is, and it sounds very far-fetched. Just for that sake, you know what I mean? Just so that, you know, Kruger's able to see this coming. But again, it's like if you put it from the perspective of like you know, the world wars, right? So the fights that clearly, like, you're seeing the imagery. In this episode, not only just in this episode, but in the credits for season 3, they were putting side by side images of, you know, like world wars, like right next to, you know, images from Attack on Titan, and clearly it was like you know, they were basically giving you a little preview of what was to come with that. But, you know, back in season 3, when I was watching that for the first time, it's just like that kind of thing where it's trying to give you a sense of, you know, it's like war is hell. It never really ends. You see, seeing the similarities between, you know, the wars and the show, and they're obviously conveying that. But it's one of those things that's like never ends, and it's just a cycle that repeats. So it could be that, you know, if you can sort of theory craft for it to make sense in that regard. But I mean, there's other stuff as well. Like, before I get into, like, you know, into the meat of this episode for the other stuff, you know, I wrote down things that I said I was going to talk about in the pre-discussion, but I think it would have went on too long, so I just left it for the post-discussion. I think, I don't remember if in season 3 I was talking about like the idea of a hive mind with the Titans, with the founder being at the top, and then that stems down to the other Titans, Titan holders, and then that stems down to the mindless ones. You know, because we have the visions that Eren had, like we've had a vision like of a bee. Obviously, bees and other insects and everything like that tend to work on a hive mind type of system, and their sort of cohesion as well with plants. Because I said during the reaction, like, this idea that, like, I think it's, you know, to look at Titans almost as if they're plants as opposed to anything else, because they're active in the sunlight, right? So it's almost like if they are being fed, it's done by photosynthesis. They don't eat humans for nourishment, so, you know, you can look at them obviously that way. Even like the times that they were active in the moonlight, it's the sun refracting off of the moon back down, so it's like it's still photosynthesis, still works, and they're able to, you know, to be active at night if, you know, the moon is in full view, essentially, and everything like that. So I'm wondering if, like, the mangaka had this idea for, like, you know, a symbolic nature about what is actually happening, about like nature fighting back, and that's what the Titans actually are. You know what I mean? Because even, like in real life, we always have these conversations about humanity's bad for the planet, and it's you know, it's like you know, nature should really just get rid of us and everything like that. And it's kind of like you can almost look at it that way. It's like if you look at Titans as plants in that kind of system, it could be like an overarching thing of this is just basically nature fighting back, with these Titans as almost like plant semblance. You know what I mean? Like that's you know, the Titans are conveying nature, so you know, and trying to fight back against humanity that just goes out and destroys all. With, you know, but the interesting thing about it is they're using the Titans to fight. You know what I mean? So it's like they're using nature to do what nature doesn't want them to do. Or it could be what nature does want them to do, like literally fight it out until they're all destroyed. You know, who knows? But it's definitely an interesting little theory. But yeah, so I got that one out the way. What I wanted to talk about anyway. So yeah, back to the episode. So the Mideast allies, so they controlled the sea, which is interesting. I'm guessing they must have, you know, looking at, if I remember the map anyway, I don't have it up, but it seems as though they came in from the sea and established themselves from there. They didn't cross through Africa, or whatever they want to call it, you know, so, which is interesting because, you know, I mean, if you look on the world map, you can cross that through land, but I'm guessing they just thought that coming from the sea would be a more advantageous position. I also found it odd as well that there was a subtitle, a quote, that was said that, I think Zeke was talking about, he says that this war came about because we failed. So somehow this war between Marley and the Mideast allies was started because Zeke and Reiner failed on Paradise, is what I'm guessing is what he's talking about there. But I don't know to what degree. Like, I don't know if he's talking about it, like this war wouldn't have come about if we'd succeeded, because they would have had the founding Titan, and then therefore they would have been so powerful that, you know, the Mideast allies wouldn't even bother trying to fight us. It could have been that, you know. But yeah. So if we talk about that, like in terms of, I know that the commander said that it was 9 years ago when they had the plan to send Bertold, Reiner, and Annie over to Paradise to infiltrate and, of course, you know, try and get the founding Titan, right? So 9 years ago, yeah. So that, I mean, if you push forward 5 years, which is I believe is the end of season 3, right? Another 4 years, 9 years, it adds up. So that's interesting, especially when we're looking at this episode specifically from Marley's point of view. It just makes me really want to go over to Paradise and see what's happening with them lot, you know? Like, what have they been doing? Have they just been amassing? Because at this point, they've pretty much, like, gained control of the whole of Paradise Island at this point, right? Like, they have stragglers that, of course, they go out and get rid of the Titans. But because they don't have to worry about that threat anymore, it's like they can just amass their numbers, I suppose. You know, but I mean, you're talking about 4 years. You know, it's just a case of whether or not they can get, like, everyday people who didn't want to go and join the cadets because of the Titan, because of the Titans and everything like that. That more people might be willing to actually go in and train now. So they, you know, they may be just, you know, biding their time and waiting for the perfect time to strike. But I mean, because we ended off season 3 with Eren basically saying if we go over there and fight, you know, they've only got a certain amount of time. They're talking about obviously succeeding Reiner and Zeke for their Titans. But that's the thing, is like when Eren got his, it wasn't that much further along. At least I don't believe it was. Like, you know, because it was when you know, Bertolt, Annie, and Reiner eventually showed up, right? basically, you know, they were all forced out of Shiganshina, and then during that sort of voyage over, you know, further inside, that was when Eren got his. So, you know, it wasn't that much longer after, you know what I mean? But the one thing that, you know, we have to take into account is that the Paradis lot aren't thinking of it as a succession, you know what I mean? Like, they're not thinking, like, Eren's not thinking about who I'm going to be passing this on to. At least what we haven't learned yet anyway, because in these past 4 years, whatever the Paradis lot have been doing, we don't know what... They must have had actually a conversation, like, specifically I would imagine Levi would bring it up, like, knowing that he only has a certain amount of time, like, if anything does happen, we need to be ready to, like, you know, you need to give this over to like, you know, to one of us, and not let the other, you know, the Malians have it. You know, I mean, that's the biggest thing, because, you know, the one thing that that we learned with sort of Grisha's sort of flashback and everything like that, with Kruger and everything, is that we can't, the Attack Titan needs to remain out of Marley's hands, essentially, right? Because that's the one that ever strives to move forward, you know, and basically, let's just get rid of these Malians, man. I just don't like them. I just don't fucking like them, dude. It's like they're just like Nazi Germany, man. Like, that's what it seems like that's what they're most like. I mean, even the grenades that Gabi was using, I'm sure those are like German grenades. I'm sure they were them sort of like stick thing. I'm sure that those were German grenades. I could be wrong, but even the helmets are very German, like, you know, like those German helmets. So yeah, I mean, oh God, where else do we go from here? Yeah, so the new kids that are like the warrior candidates to take over Reiner. It's very much this is a great episode to, I guess, understand why it makes you understand Reiner, Berthold, and Annie's like reasoning for doing their you know what I mean, because obviously last season when you had, you know, Berthold basically say, like, you know what I mean, like it doesn't matter, like, you know, we do this because we have to and everything like that. It really puts a new perspective on it. The Malians have this sort of just they basically just indoctrinate these Eldians and keep them down to size all the time. You know, it's just crazy, and they've basically told them that, like, if you want to, you know, have a life, like, you know, I mean, Gabi was talking about getting the Eldians out of the internment zone, right? Because obviously they're in that, like, sort of, you know, they're basically classed as they're basically lower class, right, to the Malians, right, who live in better conditions. And so that they're like, it's like they've been told, like, you need to work for us, and, you know, the Eldians and everything are basically looking at it as like, well, you know, but I guess we've got to go, you know, take out Paradis, because, you know, and get the founding Titan in order for that to happen. Even though the Malians would never even give that up, I don't think. But if they didn't, it wouldn't be hard for the Eldians just to fucking, you know, just turn on them anyway. Because, you know, they have that ability. But, I mean, we've got to remember as well, Marley did win in one of those wars, right? Which is why they have access to, you know, a lot of the Titans. But yeah, so it's interesting getting that, like, the group of kids, and having it from their perspective, because that's basically, this is what Reiner, Annie, and Berthold would have been through, something similar, you know. So it's interesting getting a look at what they would have went through at that point in time. So yeah, what else? I guess with the we'll go into those characters actually, since we're there. I didn't get the name of the girl with, like, the whitish hair, but the main character seemed to be Falco. He was the first kid that we saw immediately, like, on the field of fucking battle, for Christ's sake. and he has a brother who is Cold, who is actually he's already been chosen to succeed the Beast Titan. So that's nuts. And then we have Gabby, who is very much so possible successor to Reina for this point. Like, they all just agree that she is much better than anybody else, any other candidate, and it's likely she's going to get it unless something happens to her. So, there is that. The one thing that I just feel like we could be looking at a situation where Falco gets a Titan. I don't think it's going to be Reina's though. I think it might end up being Eren's. Because it felt like there's something similar there. He doesn't go about things the same way that the others would. Like, he was the one guy to grab an enemy and bring him into the trench to heal him up. Like, whereas the others just they wouldn't even consider that, It's like he has this sort of, this way of looking, like, at the world that's that I feel is somewhat similar to Eren. Not in the same that, like, they look at things the same way. Eren was just very sort of just, and like it was like, he would give the garrison shit for, like, basically doing nothing but drinking all day and everything, and and he saw that the walls that they were in, they were caged like animals. But he had this very, like, sort of just profound sort of outlook, I suppose, at the world that they were in. And I think it seems as though Falco has that same way of looking. Like, he has an outlook that is specifically different from those around him. That is, it's one of those things, like, to just ever strive moving forward, like the Attack Titan does. You've got to have that sense of like, to move forward, you know what I mean? You've got to have that sort of determination factor, which I think it seems as though from the scenes that we did get with Falco, it seems as though he is that way inclined. He has a different approach to certain things. The one thing that I will say about, like, Falco possibly getting a Titan is, like, his sort of outlook obviously isn't as, I guess, like, you couldn't describe it as cutthroat like you could do with Eren. You know what I mean? Like, Eren was in a situation where he was just like, I'm going to kill all these fucking Titans. I'm going to get rid of them all, And that was obviously mixed with wanting to get outside the walls, and it ended up, culminating as that just sort of drive that Eren does have. Whereas Falco doesn't really have that, and until we see, like, a possibility where Falco loses, like, somebody that he cares about, we don't know how he will act in regards to that. But the one thing really that tips me over the edge in terms of thinking that Falco will end up, not just with, like, the Attack Titan, but any Titan, is that he was flying through the air with a sword. That's the thing that's mad. Why would he have that image? Because as far as I would guess, like, he will have probably heard about the Paradise operation. I guess that there is always the option that he could have been told about these as well, like, because, Zeke and Reiner would come back and they would probably have, like, like school classes almost, or teachings about what, technology Paradisians use, and they use this maneuver gear to fly around attached to objects and propel themselves, and they have these swords. Maybe that is it, but just the way that he said it, the kids around him didn't act as almost as if, like, they didn't care. It was like, no, it's like, this is the end of a 4-year war, mate. Like, come back to Earth, hello. And they didn't react in a way that they would know what it was. So my thought is Falco doesn't even know what it is, and he was having a vision, almost like Eren does, about future events, and that's what he was having. but it was him himself that was flying around. And if we go to this transcend time thing that like Kruger did, memories from the fucking, you know, that he has from the future that he doesn't know what they were. I mean, that's just similar to what Eren had. It would make sense that, because the one Titan that does get that is the Attack Titan. We haven't seen it with the other ones. So it would make sense that Falco would be the one that's going to end up with this Titan, you know. And he's the one character specifically that we've seen on the side of Marley that's like, even though like he's being indoctrinated, he doesn't seem to lose that sense of like goodwill. I think he's like a very caring person. So if that's the case, maybe it is just about getting the Eldians. If maybe that's the way the show ends, is that all the Eldians with a good-hearted nature get the Titans, and then therefore they don't use them for, you know, to sort of for taking over shit, essentially, you know. But you know, we'll see. So yeah. What else? Where do we go from here? Where do we go, man? There's so much to talk about. There always is in this show. There's always so much to talk about. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the end of that war anyway. There's a peace treaty with the Mid-East allies, so that war is now done. And now this means that their Paradise operation is back on, right? So now it's a case of where do they go from here. That's the thing as well, is like going into this season, I almost thought that it was like the counterattack. It was like the Paradisians were heading over the ocean to go meet them on their doorstep, but they haven't done so yet. So I don't know if it's like Paradisians. That's what I'm going to call them, because I can't call them Eldians because there's also Eldians on the Marley, so I can't call. I'm just going to call them Paradisians from now. If we're talking about the time period, and you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, but according to the time period of what I'm thinking about is, you could almost line up the start of the battle between Marley and the Mid-East allies from when Season 3 ends. I'm sure. Because I'm sure the first 3 seasons span 5 years. Right? I think that's correct. It might be 6. But even then, even if it was 6, that would mean that there were 3 years after the end of Season 3. So there's probably about 3 or 4 years from the end of Season 3 where we don't know to this point what the Paradisians are doing. They haven't crossed, as far as we know. Although that being said, there was that one guy at the end of the episode, right? With like the long hair, kind of looked like Kenny, but we know it's not Kenny. But if we're talking about like, you know, that length of time, haircuts could change. Could it be Gene? He's the only one with that hair color, from what I can remember. Yeah, because he has that like sort of just like very light brown sort of hair. If that's the case, damn, dude. Gene with long hair, dude. Fuck, that'll be a hell of a sight. I can't wait to just see what they all look like, you know what I mean? Fuck. Like, Reiner was the one character, I mean, well, Zeke as well, but I mean, Zeke doesn't really look like he's changed, because he's just, you know, generally a bit older. But Reiner, man, with that, like, sort of stubbly beard thing that he's got going on, he looks like a badass. When he dropped in, dude, he was like, I'm sick of walls. It's so good. I'm sick of walls. It's just funny, you know, because it's almost like a meta comment as well, you know. It's like, fucking hell, man, I'm just sick of these walls. Like, fuck off. It's just really funny. But yeah, it's just badass. Very badass. I guess we'll talk about that. The bomb drop. Shit. I was like, what are they doing here? Like, why? What are these, like, that? It's like they're being, fuck, like, they're like conveyor belt things, right? It's like what you would find in a fucking, like a slaughterhouse or like a meat factory, like a meat processing plant, like where they hang up fucking, you know, like basically dead pigs and cows, and they haul them through with those things. They're like conveyor belts, but you know they hang as well, and then move across. I'm like, what the fuck is this all about? They're like, it's like they've got like a bag that's like tied around their feet and everything. And as soon as I saw like their faces were like, they were like Titan faces planted on a human. And it's like my brain was like racing around, like trying to think like, what the fuck is going on here? And it was like, shit. It's like all of it came to me at once. Like that episode, I think it's episode 14 of season 3. It's when it came back for the second part. And obviously it's that moment where, you know, like it's like, fuck, the Shiganshin is empty. And then obviously, you know, you're looking at Erwin and you know, behind him it just lights up, and then you're like, what the fuck? Great reveal. And yeah, it's just like that just came to me. It's like, fuck, it's a legitimate bomb drop, but with Titans. It's so scary, man. It's so horrifying. It's nuts. It's so crazy. But I mean, oh god, it's the tech, man. The tech is so much better than what Paradise have. So much better. Like their cannons. It's like their armaments did not care even for the armored Titan. Like they could just get through the armor like it was nothing. Speaking of which, man, there's no way Reiner can be dead there, man, dude. There's no way. I will actually be pissed if he dies there. I will be pissed. I will be so pissed if he dies there. I really will. Because oh god. Because we'll not get that fucking the reunion of when the Paradisians are eventually over here causing like carnage. Because that's been the one sort of, I guess, constant for a long time of Titan versus Titan is it's Eren versus Reiner. Those are the ones that, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, Bertolt was obviously involved in that as well, but it was always that like sort of Eren and Reiner for a long time always had that sort of relationship. That was close. And so for them to go against each other, we've had like so many fights with them, of course. To continue that, I feel like it needs to come to a head between those two. Especially when the last thing we saw with Reiner and the group is that he had to leave Bertolt to die. So there's still stuff to end with that, you know what I mean? Like, we can't have Reiner dying to fucking nobodies. Like, that seems very harsh to say, because I mean, but they're a new group, the Mideast Allies. I've never heard of them before. We can't just have Reiner die like that, dude. We can't. Fuck. The only way that I would like give it some leeway is if like that's it, he's dead. But then I don't know, like Gabby becomes the next Armored Titan, and then she gets memories from Reiner, and then so now she feels the same way even though she wasn't there. And then therefore, like, when they do come up against each other, it's kind of like this thing where like Eren's like, what? You know what I mean? Like, it might be like a slightly different looking Titan. That'll be an interesting thing as well. I've always had that with the way that somebody looks as a human versus when they're a Titan, because it was always like kind of semi-obvious by what they look like. Like, for example, Annie looks like her Titan. Reiner does, with the hairs there. Bertolt much less so. but he was tall. So there's that. But that doesn't mean anything now, because Armin's the fucking Colossal Titan, and he's a short ass. So... yeah, man. But, like, that's the thing, is they clearly either feature, like, something about the person when they're in human form dictates what they look like as a Titan, because we'll have the Jaw Titan, so Galliard, like... that's a cool looking Titan, man. That is so cool. But damn, it's like, that's the confirmation, really, that, yeah, Emiya's dead. But it's just like that. She was so much more visceral as her Titan, you know. Like it was more like it was like a little gremlin, you know. This one though, like, what is with the like the skull face? It's crazy, the design. I love it though. The other one as well, the Cart Titan, I got his name, Piek. Fuck. The bunker on the back, it's so good. It's so good. It's so simple as well. Like, it's not like it's, you know, something that... I just think it's so cool that when we first saw him in Season 3, that he's obviously hauling, like, barrels and stuff, and Berthold's in one of them, and it's like, it's, you know, it's armaments or whatever the fuck he's carrying. Food for when they're a human. To like now we see him and he's got a bunker on his back with like people inside shooting at. It's crazy. It's just a cool concept, I think, the Cart Titan, like, because it's such a weird one, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, the other Titans are so like obvious, like, you know, like they're very much just you know, more special Titans. But the Cart Titan's like it's just something completely different. You know what I mean? It's quadrupedal, so it stands on all fours. And it's so... just changing that shit out, you know? It's really cool. Like, you would never think that the Cart Titan would be that much of a fucking... You know what I mean? Like, if you're talking about all the Titans, like, lined up, you're kind of like, the Cart Titan... What? What is that? What? That's stupid. But fucking hell if it's not cool with a fucking bunker on it, dude. He also, like, it has a helmet. You know what I mean? Like, in combat situations, when you change him up, he's got this, like, fucking helmet in his head, which he didn't have. He didn't have back in Season 3, did he? He was just like, it was just like this duck face, which he still has, but he has this, like, little helmet thing over the top, and that's just... damn, dude. So, Piek. It's going to be interesting to see, like, what these guys look like outside of their Titan form. I'm gonna have a guess and say that we are gonna see them eventually. You know what I mean? Because that's the only way we're going to be able to kill them off or whatever. We're definitely gonna have to see them at some point. But like, damn, dude. What else, dude? What else? Is that pretty much it? Ah, well, yeah, so one of the, I guess going back to the kids, so we've talked about Gabby, I've talked about Falco, Colt, again, yeah, I can't remember the girl with the whiter hair, but Udo was the guy with the glasses, right? So he was like an interpreter, he was working as an interpreter, he could, you know what, you could understand what they were saying, and they are the same, so they're just a group of other people that they just see the Titans as monsters. So it's the same kind of thing that the Malians did, which is why I don't think it's like the Paradisians, for example. I don't think they could worry about, you know what I mean? Because the Mid-East allies had control of the sea, right? So I assume that like the Paradisians aren't going to be able to just come across the ocean, because they would run into the Mid-East allies. And there's no reason why the Mid-East allies would ever, I guess, trust the Paradisians. Especially when they're just obviously, you know, like, Eren's, I guess, can be rather upfront about, like, sort of his Titan. But I feel like there has to be a reason why the Paradisians haven't crossed yet. You know, whatever they're doing, if they're just biding their time, you know, becoming better, like prepared, equipped, who knows, you know. But I just can't wait to see them, man. Can't fucking wait. I don't know what else. I don't know what else to talk about. I think that's pretty much it. I hope I haven't fucking forgotten anything. Like the fucking trains were so sick. I love the fact of like the way it was like laid out. It was like a grid system for the train, and it had it like all the way around where it could just like come out on patrol and really fuck up their day. But I mean, it didn't last long, man. It's just that bomb drop, man. It's just so fucked. Like, it's like they were stuck in the walls. It's like they had nowhere to go. You know what I mean? Like, it's like for that split moment in time, it was a mini version of the Paradise Island walls, and they were stuck inside, and they couldn't fucking leave. And they just had to look up and just watch that rain apart. Like, that has gotta suck. It's just gotta suck so bad. I wonder what Zeke does with these people, because it looked like they were already. I talked about that. It looked like they were already Titans before they had even become Titans, and I wonder what he does with them. Like, does he like drug them out before he fucking? You know what I mean? Like, there's something about it that makes me believe that they're not willing participants in this. I mean, they're aliens. They have to be aliens in order to become a Titan. It's just fucked. It's mad. It's crazy. Like, how is he able to do? How is that ability even? How does it work? It's like he had to scream to activate it. But how does that even like compute? Like, what is the process there? Does he inject them? And he can. It must be, right? It has to be. I think he injects them, and he's able to turn them into Titans without them being hurt. Because beforehand it would be like, right, where you would have to, you know, you would literally have to put them in a situation where they would turn into Titans naturally, so that, you know, pushing them off a wall, injuring them, stuff like that. So it's just crazy, man, isn't it? So I guess he can just activate them from his scream, and that's what that is. But I think he must inject them after the fact. And whether or not like injecting them like gives them like some sort of like paralysis thing, or like almost like a drug thing where they're just like, you know what I mean, they're just totally drugged out, and then all of a sudden it's just like bang, you know. Maybe that's no. That'll not be why they were tied up, because they could just turn Titans any time. That's just not the case at all. I think it was because then they're just not willing participants. That has to be it. I mean, they could even just use people that are, you know, because if there is still like a resistance sort of faction in Marley somewhere of like Eldians, you know, like going against you know, Marley's code and whatever the fuck. They could use those, I suppose, like prisoners and stuff. Maybe that's what it is. Or they just take random people, which I wouldn't put it past them either. You know, but like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, even though they've just been indoctrinated into this sort of just this system, they can't like what's going on, dude. Like, they really can't. I mean, Zeke's just like way too far gone. I think Reiner at this point doesn't give a fuck anyway. And I think that's the thing that's maybe about seeing the perspective of the kids, is that now that the war's about to come to a head, they will be young enough to where then they will not be fully indoctrinated, and you might be able to get through to them. I think Falco in particular, you could easily, I think he would understand what the crack is, right? All it takes is for like the Paradisians to get their point across to a lot of Eldians, right? And then they could use them to uprise, and then all of a sudden they've got all of these like Eldians that have been under Marley's boot for so long coming back to fight them, you know? It'd be so good. I can't wait. I just can't wait. But that's pretty much, that's all I've got. So really, really cool. I hope I haven't missed anything. If I did, I apologize. I'm sure that like anything that I do miss, once I'm editing the actual reaction, I'll put up like a note and be like, oh, don't worry, I caught this. You know, I think the one thing is that city, you say like that town, it's not even a city, that like sort of coastal town. Zeke blew up the ships, but the fort was at the top of the hill, and there's a town. They've got to be in the town as well, surely, but we didn't see that, you know. So yeah, I mean, I just can't wait. But anyway, that is all I've got. So thank you everyone for watching. In the description below, I've linked to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish. There's also the Patreon page as well, so if you do want to support me on Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards there, like early access. It's $5 a month, gives you access to shows a week early. There is the full-length tier, which gives you access to all my reactions in full, and not just the cut 10-minute versions. And then there's the exclusive tier, which gives you access to movie full-length reactions and everything like that. So if you want to watch my full-length reactions to movies, the last one I did was Heroes Rising, the My Hero Academia movie. It was so good. Yeah, there'll be more movies coming soon. So that is all I got. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.